Absolute madness. The CDU is showing its true colors. A CDU member is now claiming that Bitcoin is for clueless lunatics who hate the euro. A currency for dumb lottery players with too much money. No joke. This is the original quote from a CDU member, specifically Dirk Hagemeister, who is really going off here. He says that he is a supporter of a black-green government. Climate protection is vital, and no AFD, no alliance Sarah Wagenknecht pro-Ukraine. He says that he is a supporter of a black-green government. Climate protection is absolutely vital, and no AFD, no alliance Sarah Wagenknecht pro-Ukraine. You can actually check out his profile here. I'll link it for you down in the description. It's really insane. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know if he has much to say here. He probably won't have much to say here. And to be honest, it's not the entire CDU that thinks this way. But this isn't the first case that's escalated like this. It's actually the second one. We already had, I think, wasn't it where Hanover wanted to become the Bitcoin city? Or Bochum wanted to become the Bitcoin city? There was also a CDU politician who really escalated things, calling Bitcoin supporters stupid people. And when I made the video and then used video material from the speech here, I was even threatened by a judge to take the video down immediately. I have to take the video down. Now, thankfully, I'm not using any more material here, so this video can't be taken down. But this is really highly controversial. I don't get why politicians are so against Bitcoin. But even if not, as a member, you clearly position yourself behind a party. Election versus personal views. CDU accuses Bitcoin in the election program and what is the individual opinion of different politicians or various members. Now let's take a look at how this escalation happened and why these massive accusations from a CDU member against Bitcoin are happening here. So we have it here, black and white. Dirk Hagemeister says here, Bitcoin is a currency for clueless lunatics who hate their euros. So first of all, this is really, really important. Here, it's basically being claimed that all Bitcoiners hate the euro. I think there are definitely one or two in there. But it's definitely not about putting down other currencies with Bitcoin. For us Bitcoiners, it's about standing up for something. Because it is not like in the profile of the CDU member where it says no AFD, no alliance Sarah Wagenknecht. 2001, no whatever, no whatever. It's not about pushing against something. It's about standing up for Bitcoin, for a free world, for free currency markets, and, let's say, for a fairer monetary system. There's no need for an anti-euro or anti-dollar stance. Of course, people make jokes or something like that when they somehow issue new debts here and when the place somehow falls apart in their face, but some of it can really be seen as comedy. Sure, some people will probably be happy if the thing collapses, but we have to be honest, the euro will collapse sooner or later. There's no need to debate around it or anything like that. And now it's basically being claimed that all the Bitcoiners are massively attacking the euro, and that's just not true because Bitcoin is about creating something better. It's also about moving away from the mindset that we have centralized money. We've created a completely alternative system that works entirely independently of the euro. It's also about moving away from the mindset that we have centralized money. We've created a completely alternative system that works entirely independently of the euro. And that really needs to sink in for a lot of people. Bitcoin is often criticized as a currency for reckless investors, but this criticism can be seen as a sign of its success. The more Bitcoin is attacked, the more it benefits, suggesting fear from traditional financial systems, despite opposition from established parties. Some political groups like the FDP and AFD are becoming more open to Bitcoin. It would be wise for the CDU to reconsider their stance as well. The trend shows a shift in perception, with some parties beginning to embrace Bitcoin. Now we can see that the FDP is opening up, that the AFD is opening up, and it would be super smart for the CDU to take a moment to think about this and maybe change their opinion on Bitcoin. But we're already seeing a tendency for the CDU to reject it. Back then, there was this crazy regulation they wanted to implement regarding wallets and stuff, which were supposed to be banned, like private wallets. And it wouldn't have been a direct ban on Bitcoin, but more like an indirect ban on Bitcoin. There was definitely a proposal, and I made a video at the time that the CDU was planning a kind of Bitcoin ban here in 2001. But it looks like what you see in this tweet reflects exactly what we could already sense back then. That they aren't freedom-loving people, that they have a huge problem with us not having central currencies anymore, and that they don't really want any change because change means a new monetary system. Change means a free monetary system. Change means doing things differently. What the established parties do is just keep recycling the same old stuff, making the same mistakes over and over, and hoping something will change, but nothing's going to happen. And that's why more and more people are saying, screw it, I don't care about politics anymore, I want Bitcoin. I'm standing up for Bitcoin. Why should I waste my time dealing with politicians when I can just support Bitcoin? Bitcoin fixes exactly that, so that such statements and such people eventually have nothing left to say because it's really scandalous. And that's why more and more people are saying, screw it, I don't care about politics anymore, I want Bitcoin. I'm standing up for Bitcoin. Why should I waste my time dealing with politicians when I can just support Bitcoin? Bitcoin fixes exactly that such statements and such people will at some point no longer have any say here, because that is really scandalous. But right now, there's still the legacy system, and a lot of people are still in positions where they have a say. Okay, he probably doesn't have much to say, but this is just really tactically unwise, especially when you look at how the US is opening up to Bitcoin while these CDU folks are just going all out against it. And you also have to understand how we got to this escalation. So here's what happened. There was a statement from DR. Bernd Baumann, he's a member of the German Bundestag from the AfD, and he was in an interview talking about how unfair the whole situation is during the election campaign, how heavily the AfD is being attacked. He just shared some thoughts about the AfD, I'd say. Let's quickly take a look at what she said.
This means that a fairness agreement is being made among so-called Democrats, where 1/5 of the electorate and their representatives are completely excluded, and then they're demonized with all these Nazi comparisons and all that kind of stuff. It really can't get any more unfair than the upcoming election campaign. And the citizens just have to see through this hypocrisy. They need to have the courage to allow for voter opinions and views that exist beyond the left-green mainstream. You can have the opinion that people should be turned away at the border, you can believe that there are two genders, and you can think that you shouldn't be able to change your gender every year based on the self-determination law that we just passed. With the CDU's involvement, otherwise it would have never been enacted. And all these voices, this new movement that leans more conservative and no longer prefers the current zeitgeist, also need to be treated fairly, and they aren't. And these fairness agreements are a joke. They're really an unfairness agreement against the AfD.
So he's basically explaining that we need free speech and that we really need a culture of debate. And you can't just frame people negatively like that. And under this video, Dirk Hagemeister commented that he supports the CDU/CSU with his first and second votes, meaning he doesn't support what is being said here. So that, for example, you can also believe that there are two genders, or that we should just be a bit more open and liberal in the discussion. He apparently didn't like that. And then someone actually commented below, everything has been getting worse and more expensive in Germany for the last 20 years. And the fact is, the AfD has nothing to do with that, which is why I vote for the AfD. Too many old people searching for bottles in the trash. And in the end, I would say that is indeed a very, very valid point, because, okay, you can truly say something against the AfD, pro, negative, whatever. You can be pro or negative, but the whole political situation and the mess we are in is also the responsibility of the CDU. And that's why it's really bold to just say, okay, we have nothing to do with this. And then things escalated, and a CDU member claimed that everything has been getting more expensive for the last 100 years. What were they making 20 years ago? Well, that's just not true at all. Until 1971, it was actually relatively cool, so the conditions between rich and poor actually improved. It's only since 71, when the gold standard was abolished, that things have gotten massively worse here. And then he says that what is being accused here is just empty talk, that the CDU is also responsible for this, that things are heading towards a wall and so on. Sure, the CDU can't be blamed for everything because it also has to do with the broken monetary system and stuff like that. He says, but the person with the CDU politician adds, look into Bitcoin. It's not normal for prices to rise. Our money is broken. I explained to the CDU politician it's about politics and the broken monetary system. And here it's just being said, that's exactly why you should look into Bitcoin. It's not normal for everything to keep getting more expensive. Our money is broken. And that's exactly what I've just done, where I'm basically trying to explain to the CDU politician, yes, it's also the fault of politics, but it's also the fault of the broken monetary system. And he apparently didn't want to admit that here. He didn't want to admit that the monetary system is broken. It's not the case that at default everything is getting worse and worse and more expensive, and then you blame it on other people and so on and just say, it's always been like that. Everything has been getting more expensive for 100 years, and you just check, it's always been like that. And this is just a really, really nasty debate that's happening here. And then somewhere where the arguments ran out, the CDU politician came up with the answer. Yes, Bitcoin is a currency for clueless lunatics who hate their euro. So he just ran out of arguments, and then he completely lost it. And then massive false claims are being made against Bitcoin. Not only are false claims being made against Bitcoin, but it also shows complete incompetence, where it's not understood that a lot of our problems stem from the broken money system. You can definitely dive into what happened with the Nixon shock in 1971. But it gets even crazier because now the community people have also gotten involved, the folks from the Bitcoin community, and they've really gone after the CDU politician. Roman Rare writes here, the euro is a currency for people who hate freedom or for those who are okay with losing purchasing power. And that really hits the nail on the head because the euro is truly an anti-freedom instrument. The euro is a tool that systematically leads to robbery and theft. The euro is a tool that involves chronic inflation. The euro is a tool that really lets your purchasing power, your savings, get inflated away. You go to work for money that someone else can simply print out of thin air in the privacy of their own room. There's nothing more unfair than that. And the politicians can only play these weird games, like the ones they're playing right now, because they have this monetary system that lets them create new money all the time, which they can then use to fund their election campaigns and finance all sorts of pointless packages for things that are massively inefficient. Here, companies can be propped up that should have gone bankrupt in the free market a long time ago. Here, states that are actually completely insolvent and no longer efficient are being kept alive. But you can just rack up debt as much as you want because the one who gets screwed is always the saver, and never the politician. Well, maybe the politician a little, but not nearly as much as the saver. There were even a few creative answers. Here, someone also says that the euro is a currency for someone who likes to finance wars. That's always what Maurice Hofchen says, that it would be really bad if we had Bitcoin because then we wouldn't be able to finance wars anymore. And you can really see how far people are willing to go. It's become quite the trend to say, okay, war is suddenly cool and all. And with the euro, you can do exactly that. You can finance wars because you can create new money packages, buy bazookas with that, and then send them off to war zones. I'm obviously exaggerating a bit, sure. That means what's going on here is really insidious. What we're seeing here is an anti-Bitcoin witch hunt. There's really no other way to put it, because there's no fundamental argumentation happening here, and it's not even being discussed on a factual level. Instead, it's just ad hominem attacks against Bitcoin. So I'm really at a loss for words here. I have never seen anything like this before. I've seen people who were negative about Bitcoin, who criticized it, and some even gave really, really poor technical critiques. But to hear such extreme, let's say, kindergarten-level arguments, that's really on a kindergarten level, there's no other way to describe it. For me, that's just outrageous, and it really shocked me to my core. But the fact that we hear such blatant and, let's say, kindergarten arguments is really their kindergarten level, there is no other way to describe it. This is absolutely amazing to me, and it really shocked me. But feel free to let me know what you think about it. And if you're saying, hey, okay, I'm just a blabbermouth and a dumb lottery player with too much money, then I'll drop a link to 21 Bitcoin down below. Here, you can easily gamble away your lottery money, your silly lottery money, by Bitcoin, and you can even save up to 20% on the fees when you buy Bitcoin with the code BitcoinHotel. You can just blow all your money because you're all just dumb lottery players. Crazy people who just haven't figured out that Bitcoin is the best money in the world. Here, you can easily gamble away your lottery money, your stupid lottery money, you can buy Bitcoin, you can even save up to 20% on the fees when buying Bitcoin with the code BitcoinHotel, and you can gamble away all your money because you are all simply stupid lottery players. Crazy people who just haven't realized that Bitcoin is the best money in the world. See you later. Peace out.